Good morning, or I guess it's almost good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us on this first installment of our Tales from the HR Desk. It's more than just paperwork. Today, I am going to be talking just a quick 5 minutes on job descriptions. And if you're like most business owners, you know that job descriptions are important and that they're going to help you, but likely it falls to the bottom of the to-do list for a number of reasons. Possibly you don't know how to create one. Possibly administration of job descriptions is just not your jam. Or there might be a myriad of other reasons why job descriptions in your organization have not been updated or have not been created. Today, we're going to give you a quick 5-minute rundown as to why job descriptions are important and how you can create them simply and easily in order to be effective. So number one, why are job descriptions important? So I like to think of job descriptions as the cornerstone of your HR framework for your internal operations. If you have a good job description, that job description is going to be used as a communication tool, not only for the individual in that job, but those who supervise that individual, as well as other people around them to know who is responsible for what within the organization. That job description is going to give clarity to the individual in that role to know what their requirements are and how their job affects the bottom line and the overall strategic direction of the organization. That job description is going to include things like responsibilities. It's going to include skills and experience, what's required, but a good job description is also going to include something that we like to call KPIs. There's a few other names for it in the industry, but key performance indicators. And that's a really important part of the job description because those key performance indicators are going to explain what a good job looks like. So here's the job description. Here's all of the details that you need to have in it. Here's are the responsibilities that you have as a person who's in this role. But this is what success in this role looks like. And that's really important for engagement. It's really important for communication. It's really important for the individual to know that they're doing a good job by those key performance indicators. If you have a solid job description, that job description is easily going to turn into a job posting. We're going to have another session later on down the road about job postings and how to create a really effective job posting. But a job description and a job posting are not the same thing. A job description is going to be your overall 360 view of what this role is and all the details that are included. Whereas your job posting, you really want to scale that back to be what is most important about this role. What do people need to know? It's more like the dating profile versus the whole autobiography. So that job description is going to turn into your job posting. It's going to also turn into your interview guide. If you have a strong job description, it's going to be really easy to curate an interview guide based off of the requirements and the tasks and responsibilities in the job description. It's also going to turn into the training plan when someone comes on board in order to make sure that you go through what you need to go through to ensure that they have an up-to-date understanding of what the job requirements are and are trained in those areas. And the final place that it's going to be very important, that job description is also going to be the starting point of your performance management system and your goal development system, because those key performance indicators are the jumping off point for how you're going to set goals and how you're going to have development for that individual within your organization. And that's why at Essential HR, we believe so fully in the job description being a cornerstone document that is updated and viewed regularly for everybody's benefit. So that being said, I'm going to quickly go over a few points that you want to hit in your job description. I'm sure you might have gone deep diving into Google and come up with a few templates before that you've left on your desk and then eventually recycled when the job description project has gone on to the wayside. But I've included in the comments here a download that we've created that will help you create your own job description for your organization and give you the key points that you need to take a look at when you're building this for your business. So the first thing you want to include in the job description is just the basics. What is the job title? Where is it located? Who does it report to? Does it have reports coming in to them? Is it a full-time? Is it part-time? Can there be full-time and part-time roles within this? Is there travel required? You can also put into your job description wage band information, vacation entitlement, benefit eligibility, RSP eligibility, all those smaller details can be part of the position details portion of your job description. Then you want to include a position overview. A position overview is the answer to the question, how does this role directly impact the strategic objectives of the organization? How does this role impact? And if you can answer that question, you have created your position overview. When we move on to job postings versus job descriptions, position overview becomes very important. The next thing you want to include in your job description is the responsibilities. Now, this is where people put most of their time and effort, and for good reason. One of the things I like to put under tasks and responsibilities includes the percentage of time needed or taken for these roles. So for example, if you're bringing in an administrative assistant and there is duties like sales or answering the telephone, inside sales, maybe there's calendar management, and there is some phone operation and filing, you want to give an idea of how much is this person going to be doing all of those tasks and for how long. And the reason being is if you're hiring an administrative assistant who thinks that it's going to be administrative and a lot of paperwork and not customer facing because they're not interested in a customer facing role. But meanwhile, this administrative assistant is actually responsible for inside sales 50% of the time. It's going to be a mismatch of ideals and you're going to have problems down the road. So that's why I suggest putting in the percentage of time for these responsibilities or the expected percentage of time that each of these responsibilities will take. That might change in your industry for a specific job, depending on when the season hits, if you're a seasonal operation or at certain times during the year. But a good estimation is always important. You're also going to include your skills and knowledge. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip here. Oftentimes, when we put skills and knowledge into a job description, we put the gamut. Must be able to work independently, but also with a team, build great relationships, organize communication, written communication, verbal communication, details, anything we can think of, we put into the skills and knowledge aspect of the job description. And I'm going to encourage you to really pare that down to what is absolutely necessary and forget about the buzzwords and the ones that are used repeatedly over time, because it really minimizes the ability for the things that are the most important to stick out. So underneath the skills and knowledge, you might include things like, is there certain types of instrumentation or tools or programs that this individual needs to know or have clarity working with? If there is specifics around, one I love to see is you have to be able to work with all Microsoft applications, Outlook, Excel, Access, PowerPoint, Word, and there's not a lot of information about each one. So if this person needs to know Excel, does that mean that they're typing in an address list for clients into Excel? Or are they needing to do pivot tables and VLOOKUPs? What level of understanding do you need? I mean, some people can put together a great PowerPoint presentation and other people understand Access. To put all of those under one heading can often get a little confusing as to what are the requirements for the skills of this role. You also want to take a look at things like education under this, or sorry, not education, but understanding of certification. So if you have a certification needs to know Google Analytics, the skills and knowledge might be more about how you implement the Google Analytics knowledge that you have. Effort is another heading that you can use in order to fill out that job description. So what do we know about effort? It's going to be things like standing, sitting, lifting, climbing, what type of environment, and that goes under work conditions as well. What type of environment is this? Is it a dirty environment? I had once applied for a job at a recycling plant, and one of the questions they asked is like, can you handle the smell? Those are things that people need to know prior to applying for a job, or need to know within the job description that there are specific conditions, certain efforts that you need to put out for this work. So if this job is 100% in front of the computer, that needs to be outlined. If this job is going to be traveling, that might be something you want to put in the efforts as well, that they'll be responsible for driving or being able to take on airplane travel. Work conditions includes things like working in heat, working at heights, working in small enclosed spaces, working in a lab environment, working with medical substances, working with certain chemicals. All of those things are what you want to include with the work conditions in the job description, so that's clear up front and there's no questions. When it comes to education experience and certifications, there's minimum requirements that you want, and there's likely preferred requirements that you want. You may want somebody with an engineering degree, but you would take somebody with a electrical technologist background in their education. You may want somebody with an MBA, but a BA in commerce might suffice. So understanding what the minimum and what the preferred requirements are is going to help delineate when you move into the job posting what that candidate that you're looking for may look like. Other things you can include in your education experience certifications is memberships. For example, do they need to be a part of a certified body? If you're looking for an HR specialist, HRPA or SHRM, or any of the other provincial designations. Training. What is the requirements for training, and do they need a driver's license or a background verification check? All of these are what you want to outline prior to even beginning to recruit for this role. And then the last and most important thing we touched on already is key performance indicators. So what are the performance objectives for this role? And what are the measurements and metrics? So if you're hiring somebody as a content creator for your social media, and you've seen that with their work, you've seen their posts, and you're like, yeah, they've got creative style, they've got the branding that we like, we think we can work with them. One of the key indicators of whether they're successful or not is not just can they create a post and copy that is on brand, but how many can they create in a week? So maybe you've hired somebody and they can create one fantastic posting a day. Is that what you're looking for? I'm guessing you probably need a little bit more than one posting a day. So understanding what the performance objectives are in creation of that specific role, and understanding what the measurement and metric is. So maybe it's, they need to create 10 posts a week for different social media platforms. And then when do you relook at these goals and these performance measurements? Is it monthly? Is it weekly? Is it annually? So understanding what the review cycle looks like for these goals. And then if you have a bonus or a performance bonus or some type of variable compensation plan, what is the weighting of how these things affect the variable compensation? So those are just a few key areas that you want to focus on when you're creating your job description. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just pulling a posting off of Indeed and cutting and pasting. There's more creativity, there's more thought, but I promise you what you put into the creation of your job description is definitely going to come out in spades when you use it for all of those other documents like the job posting, the interview guide, the performance plan, and the training plan. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be watching the comments on here going forward, and we'll be happy to comment, or check us out on any of our platforms at Essential HR Canada, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. You can reach us at info@essentialhr.ca. Thanks so much for joining. We'll talk to you soon.